Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
Hi, my name is Pip Mackay and welcome to NLP for Business, where we look at the mindset and communication tools for business success and personal well-being. So what do we have today for you? Today it's how to use questions to influence thinking. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a child, it was always, why? That was the question I always wanted to have answered. Why is the sky blue? Why is my friend upset? Why do I have to go to school? Why do I have to go to bed? And that's fine for a child because the child's curious and wanting to understand what's going on in their world. But for us as business owners, this can be quite a disempowering question for our teams and for the people who are working for us. So why is that? Well, imagine if you've got a team member and you say to them, why didn't you get that project finished on time? It's going to be a very accusatory question. And because it's accusatory, that person receiving that question usually goes into a defensive place and they look to justify the reason why it's late. So they might go into, well, I just didn't have enough time. And then if you went, well, why didn't you have enough time? They might go into, well, there's just too many things to do. I'm so overwhelmed. There's so much going on. And you can see that the person's now getting upset. And why are they getting upset? Just because of the way that you asked a question. So why questions help you justify a reason for something happening. And that's not always what you want, particularly in situations that aren't positive. So the wonderful thing is that NLP has a whole lot of fantastic, empowering questions that stop sending your staff and your teams thinking down a disempowering avenue and instead helps them move into solution focus instead. So that's what it's all about, and that's what we're going to cover today. And it's called the meta model. So in NLP, the meta model came from modeling a woman called Virginia Satir. And Virginia Satir was a family therapist, and she looked at how questions affected the way that people thought and how we could use more effective questions to get better results. So what are we going to learn today, and why is it going to be useful to you? It helps you know how you're going to influence the way you and others think. So asking more empowering questions for yourself also helps your own thinking and mindset. Moves you away from problem focus to solution focus, which is what we always want in business. It opens you up to new ways of thinking. And finally, it's great for dealing with objections in sales and, of course, motivating your teams. So let's have a little look at understanding questions. So the why question, as I was talking about before, the why question cements a justification. I'll use an example which is often with a child. Why didn't you do your homework? And the child is going to look for a justification for why they didn't do it. Oh, it was too hard. And we can see their mind is going into the problem and deeper and more cemented into the problem. Why was it too hard? I don't know. I guess I'm stupid. I don't know. So we can see this is not an empowering question in that set of circumstances. Instead, we can ask a question, what specifically? So with that same example with the child, it might be, did you do your homework? Child goes, no. What specifically about your homework didn't you do? What aspect of your homework didn't you do? So what's interesting is that sometimes a child will have done some homework but not others. And they might say, well, I didn't do the maths. Oh, what part of the maths couldn't you do? Oh, I'm not very good at long division. What part of long division can't you do? Oh, I don't know how to start. Well, now all of a sudden you can help the child solve that problem. What if it's with a staff member in the example I gave earlier? So it might be, did you get the project finished on time? And they go, no, I didn't. And it was, well, what was it about the project that meant you couldn't do it on time? What specifically was it about the project that meant you couldn't do it on time? Well, there were other people who I was dependent on who didn't finish their part of the project. Oh, what part of the project didn't they finish? Oh, well, they didn't get the research completed. Now you know that there's no point in continuing to pursue this same question with that staff member. What you need to do is go to the other staff member and find out what's going on with research. And this way you can actually find specifically out what the problem is and solve it. So when we ask what specifically, we find the root cause of problems, and this allows us to find solutions. It's also, the what question is also less accusatory, and it doesn't tend to make people want to go into justifications as to why they didn't do something. Instead, you're finding out information. So this is a very, very useful question to have. In fact, the why question is not particularly a useful question with teams when you're looking at why something didn't happen. If you wanted to use a why question as to why would it be good to use this product, then we're getting justifications that are cemented, but it's in a positive way, so that's much easier. But because a lot of people at school had authority figures like deputy headmaster or the headmistress asking, why did you do that? It's got a bit of an association with it that can be negative for the people that are working for you. So it's often best to avoid it and to move into a what question or what's the purpose of question that will help you find intention behind things. So let's look at some of the others. How do you know is also a great question. So the person says something like, well, this is the best product for your business. Oh, how do you know that? So now we're getting some information about that product that the person isn't specifying. And sometimes what you find when you ask the question, how do you know, that in actual fact, that person doesn't know. Or they're basing their information on another company that might have different needs than what your company is. So how do you know that is the case is a great question, and it helps find reasons for beliefs. Reasons for beliefs. So how do you know is a really good question to be asking. Then we've got one of my favourite questions, which is what is the purpose of, or what's the purpose? And that helps you find intention. So what's the purpose of this product? The purpose of this product is to help people with their website development. So what's the purpose of helping people with their website development? So that they can make more sales from their website. So this one helps us find intention and gives you that higher order thinking, which is sometimes better than a why question. So why are we using this product? Oh, because James said it might be a good idea. Might not be the best answer. So what's great about these questions is the direction in which these questions is taking you is really, really clear, and it allows you to be thinking about, is the question I'm asking taking me to the type of answer that I'm looking for, or is it taking me into justifications for what might not be good performance? So that's a really important distinction that you want to be making and seeing what's more empowering for your teams, but also for your children, for your spouse, for other people that you're spending time with. So it's worthwhile every time you think a why question, and you might even predict places where you might use why questions, and thinking what question might be a better question, because what most people don't understand is that your questions direct other people's thinking. So every question you ask someone is influencing the direction of their thought. Do you want their thought to go into defensive justifications, or do you want their thought to go to intentions, or to go for reasons, or to find root causes for things, or to give you valuable information that you really need? So this is very, very powerful, and most people don't think of that. People think that what they say influences thinking. They don't realise that the questions they ask is the direction in which thinking goes. So I call this directionalised thinking. And that these questions are part of the directionalised questions that create directionalised thinking. Let's have a look at a couple of others that are really interesting. So this one is tell me about that, or tell me more about that. So tell me about that, tell me more about that in a way, I mean, it's not actually a question at all, but it is something that allows you to get more information in a very non-threatening manner. And this is often good in objections. We'll talk about objections in a moment. But this helps us get more information without people feeling put on the spot. So this is a very, very useful question. In coaching, in a lot of the work that I do with one-on-one people or one-on-one business owners, we start to ask, tell me more about that. So they might say, one of the problems in my business is staff turnover. So instead of going, why do you think that is? And the person's like, oh, I don't think I'm a very good manager. No, instead it's just like, oh, well, tell me a bit more about that. What's going on in terms of staff turnover? And then we're getting more information without defensiveness. Another question that's fantastic is, what would happen if you did do that? This helps future thinking. So being able to think about the future, the long-term view, is one of the ways that we've become successful in business. And so it's good. One of the amazing things is it's amazing how much and how accurate you as a business owner know about the future if you simply ask yourself the right question. What would happen if we did implement a staff training program? And then, of course, there's what would happen if you didn't? And this is a really great question. This question here helps us to discover consequences. You can also ask the question, what would happen if you didn't do what was being proposed? So what would happen if you didn't do staff training? Well, then you'd have the same problems that you've currently got, and you'd have less retention of staff, and so on and so forth. So this helps you discover alternatives. What would happen if you did? Allows you to see consequences. What would happen if you didn't see alternatives? And this question can also give you consequences of not doing something. So sometimes people are really caught up in, what's going to be the cost of doing X, Y, Z. We bring in a trainer to come and speak to our staff and train them up, and it's going to cost this much. But they're not thinking, yes, but what's the opportunity cost loss if you don't? So what would happen if you didn't? Well, each staff person who we lose costs the company this amount of money, and that's a lot more expensive than the training of the staff is. So it's really important to ask these two questions in business, and it really good way of looking at any new idea that's coming up, and it's just like, what would happen if we did implement that idea? What would happen if we didn't? And this one is the one that most people miss, and I think it's very, very important for us in business. So now let's have a little look at how we can apply these.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.